Okay, gonna do another session today. Um, so starting off with Uber. I was watching this for range play, I think. Don't really like how the weeklies between two key pivots and we're between scattered levels. So that's a bit of a minus point. I think I know what I was playing. I was playing this range right here, but I don't like these two peek outs. We have two consecutive candles on the 60-minute chart. 1-minute chart didn't have a nice enough turn. I either would have liked it to be a bit slower and then take an entry around here, or this parabolic move to just continue, capitulate on the volume side, and then take an immediate turn. We did capitulate over here, but it wasn't really my plan. Yeah, so this just didn't really fit my plan on so many levels, or it doesn't fit my plan currently. Amazon, okay, playing an all-time high play. Yet again, week 3 on the weekly chart. There was a reset on the daily chart, so now we're playing for day 3. Pre-market has quite a large range and not much easily discernible structure in between the top and the bottom of it, so not my favorite there. I see what I was trying to play here. The bottom of this range, which was also the 20 EMA, the 200, and maybe even the 50. No, that was actually at PDC in the middle. But yeah, this level was just way too strong, and going against it, I don't really like entering on a bigger range with no structure or better structure. God, I can speak. Better structure in pre-market. So yeah, I find these nowadays to just be too risky. Maybe if this were a more solid range with better candles, not just these ghost candles that aren't even fully there, and we fake broke that, reclaimed, and broke out of PDC as well. Maybe I could have taken that right around here at the break of PDC with a stop if I want to be safer below the range. If I want to be more aggressive and there's momentum, then in the middle of the range. But this way, it's a big no-no for me, even though the ABCD is nice and this level on the 60-minute chart. Dell is coming off of the 9 EMA. I don't really like how we tried to push away from it and then couldn't drop back, and now we've put in a lower high, but the daily has a very nicely curving double bottom, and we have a relatively clear top here that we can get out of. We already got out of it in pre-market, and now we're just selling back into it. Don't really like the fake break of pre-market highs here, which touched this area on the 60-minute and rejected. I just wouldn't take this trade because of that. Google, so this is around week 3, because I'm not counting this as separate candles. These are basically the same, so week 1 on this, week 2, and now we're playing for week 3. That's a better grouping. Day 2 on the daily chart off of the 9 EMA, very beautifully respecting the level. Obviously, we're gonna have to deal with this mini high here. I think this was at all-time high as well at the time, but I'm not quite sure. Yup, it sure was all-time high. Okay, so we are at all-time highs, or trying to break back to all-time highs with this ABCD. 60-minute has an ABCD as well. Pre-market doesn't really have much structure. Ghost candles here as well, although we do set up mini range-ish structure right around this level, which I like, although there isn't much confirmation. We got a very nice large fake break. Don't really like trading on this much volatility. I just find assessing risk to be much harder on these stocks, even though the level coincided with this. I didn't notice that just until now, so that's quite nice. But yeah, there's just too much scattered resistance level in pre-market, which I'm not a big fan of. One way to play this would have been if it set up a much nicer intraday structure, so like a nicer wedge around here that was much more solid, and the break of that could have been a good one. Otherwise, I'm just not really comfortable going against this much resistance on this little confirmation, even though the level was relatively nice. SPY was bullish all day, but started off choppy. Yeah, not much help from there. MU trending nicely upwards, coming back to the 9 EMA, which is also a level approximately, so that's quite nice. Daily has a bit of extension to it, although definitely not much, and is now bouncing off of the 50 EMA, which I like. Break of this level, now retesting, erasing basically all of this lag, so that's a bit ugly, but the retest of 50 EMA and this level is relatively nice. And as I said in a previous video, I really like these levels that are kissed from the top, then from the bottom, and then from the top again, and then playing it at hopefully a fake break of the level, which we didn't quite get, but we did set up this nice wedge pennant forming thing around here that I could have played the break of, or as I did here in Simulator, I just played the bounce off of it after bearish engulfing, which ultimately failed. And when something is supposed to be bearish but doesn't break down, then it's more of a bullish sign, I think, and vice versa, of course. So yeah, this could have been a good entry, just got wigged out to the penny, but then hit my target, which was this little high here, which I think was pretty neat, still within ATR. Google, still on week 3. I would say this is day 2, 3-ish. Using some discretion, I'd say it's day 2. It's definitely not extended. I like the 3-bar play setup, and I am absolutely in love with how clean this level is and how it coincides with the 20. It almost coincides with the 200, and it coincides with the 15-minute 50. And these are like the best setups you can get. Previously mentioned sell-off and stop scenario. I'm not a big fan of this range here, but whenever I get a sell-off and stop, usually I can move my stop to break even after a level rejection. So that's how I entered. Very nice fake break of the level, although I would have liked it to be a bit larger maybe, but since the level was so exact, it's all good. Entered at the break of these last 2-minute bars, as I should on a sell-off and stop. I set my stop loss below this level. If I wanted to be safer, I could have set it somewhere around here, but I guess momentum was nice here. I didn't really get that. How long to hold? ATR is $3.2, so at all-time highs, I usually go for 100% of the ATR, especially on an elevated RVOL, which I don't think we had here, even though the screenshot was taken at 1 p.m. But 1 ATR is still pretty solid. That would give me around 189, so could have held until here actually. I think I just got a little too excited about it. A partial pre-market high was definitely reasonable. This one wasn't. Even though it was parabolic, there was no capitulation or anything. Could have just made a pullback and then continued to crack on. INTC, okay, so we have a bit of an extension around here, and then we start ranging. So we lose the extension, we're coming back to the 9. Oftentimes we just pop into it and then reject, but we have some nice lower wicks and we have a nice past area of support and resistance. So that's relatively cool. Daily is looking more bullish as well because of these constant, even though they're slightly, but they are higher highs, and I'm in love with them. The upper little pivots or peaks are also getting tighter, but price is slowly trying to break to the higher side, as you can see from the price action. So that's why I'm more long biased on it, and also of course because the time of day I'm watching it, it's already broken out. Why I like it, even though there are scattered levels around here, nothing could actually break above this level and hold before. Every time it was just a singular wick. So now that we've broken out and we are holding, I like it much more. The entries on these are tricky because pre-market doesn't really offer you any pattern or anything, so just like on a few trades back where I would have said that I would have liked to wait for a pattern right here on Google, it's pretty much a similar situation here where we get a nice downwards triangle which gets broken out of, or you could just play this range, whatever, both are basically the same thing. Quite nice, no time frame is against you, SPY is just chopping, not really giving much shit about INTC, so I think that could have been a solid trade. How long would I hold? could maybe even swing it, but I'm a bit too afraid of the 9 EMA and these levels, so not opting for a swing. A breakout of this magnitude, I think, definitely calls for at least an ATR move, which counting from pre-market low 31.20 is around 70-80 cents. If you want to take an average, I don't really like to take the last value, I just like to take about the average, which is 80-90 cents maybe. So that could have given me a move up till about 32, which is also a psychological level, and I think that's a sound target. LUV, yeah, I think I was playing for a range play here. Don't really like how we only have 2 touches on my level, but could work. I mean, only 2 consecutive candle extension on the 60-minute chart. 15-minute has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm not sure if we fake broke actually here, but I don't think we did. So 5 consecutive candle extension, 5 minutes nicely extended from the 9 EMA, have room to get back and take a partial and move stop loss to break even, which is what happened. And 1 minute is nicely just coming down here and starting to curl with lower wicks. Beautiful, just like I explained a few charts ago about how I like things to turn. No capitulation, but a nice slow turn. I entered on a new high above these little candles, set my stop loss around here, so very tight stop loss. Took a partial around 9 EMA, as I most likely should, on a setup that's not so nice, a range play that's not so nice, and I think I was holding for this pre-market level, pre-market low it was, and which was also the middle of the range, and other levels on the 60-minute chart. Amazon, we're playing again for a continuation play. This is now week 2 after the break, because this is candle 1 on the break, this is still within candle 1. So now we're playing for week 2, not extended. Daily is a bit more extended. We did have a pullback, but we have tons of inside candles, so a breakout could easily result in yet another continuation day. I like the 3-bar play-ish pattern, and now we're playing for the 4th. I don't really like how we have scattered tops put in. This is a bit higher, this is kind of in between. I usually like for these stocks to either have a very tight, very clean pre-market, which we fake break and then take off, or we just clear all these, have a pullback, and then take it for a continuation around here. I mean, I'm not sure. The 5-minute was pretty undiscernible, not much I can hold on to on this chart. I marked it so that I could have taken it here. I think it was a stretch. Yeah, things are just a bit too scattered all the way. As I said, a breakout out of pre-market high, a retest, and then a continuation could have been nice. I'm not sure if the ATR would have allowed that. It's about $4 at all-time high. So yeah, definitely would have had room to play that. This was just too violent. Don't really like how swift the candles are, so would not have taken it. SHW, not really good for anything. It's in a range, so just a range play, not a trend trade. We went all the way from the top of the range to the bottom without any valid pullbacks. I consider valid anything more than 20%. It got a bit congested around here, which I don't really like, but there's a nice waterfall sell-off into the approximate bottom of this range, aside from the peak out. And it just started curling around here and then put in a fake break, which is a nice reversal pattern also. Whenever there's like price coming down, starts curling, and then tries to break below that and then fails, I found that these tend to reverse relatively nicely, of course with the appropriate larger time frame confirmations. So could have maybe taken it here. Doesn't really seem like there was any extra volume confirmation, just a bit elevated down around here, but I don't think I would have, or I would take it now, because I just don't really love the extension. It's just gotten a bit too sideways, so risky for me. Yeah, same thing, coming into a level, or not same thing, but coming into a level, 2 consecutive candle extension. Don't really like the fake break of this level here before we dumped. 5 minutes relatively okay, but got to the 9 and only have like 1-2 consecutive candle extension coming off of it, so that's a bit more risky. I kind of like the turn. Could have taken an entry, yeah, somewhere around here where I pointed the arrow, or here. But yeah, I'm just not a super big fan of the daily setup of this lower high, and now coming back into it, the level's not super solid. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense for me on the larger time frame scale. CCL, okay, so we have an approximate area as the top of this bigger range. Now we get a strong breakout and the retest. As I said in the previous charting session, I like this kind of confirmation level, because from above, now below, now from above, and then we continue off of that. So that's clean as hell. Don't really like yesterday in pre-markets action. I don't really like how we're putting in lower highs, a bit scattered all the way, but we do have a nice sell-off and stop going into the open, where I could have taken an entry, fake break, easy entry here, stop loss here. This was a bit late, the one that I marked previously, and I could have taken it 60 cents. I would have gone for 80% of the ATR. I think this pullback is just too aggressive. I'm not hoping for much continuation, maybe just some back to levels. So 80% of that is approximately 50, 48, but 50 is solid, so that would take me back to around 18 bucks, probably taking partials at these levels. On the 60-minute chart would have been good, and 709, let me just check it on TradingView. So 709, I would have gotten, yeah, I would have gotten the high of it was 1811, so would have gotten a full exit there, which I think is quite solid. Okay, so moving on, we have CFLT. Not much I can see on a weekly. Yeah, it was a range play. Daily, relatively nice range. A bit more long biased on it. We broke above this, set a range on top of it. Also the 9 EMA, so that's clean. We only have 2 consecutive candle extension, and we have a fake break above this level. Not my favorite. I would just dismiss it easily. BAC. Okay, this is week 3 on a continuation. We already had many legs, but not super strong legs. This is just the slowly trending up stock. So these, I have found that counting legs for is not really the best idea, because they just tend to continue on until there's sufficient counter force to stop the trend. So daily, we have this structure. I can see immediately that we've broken out of, now retesting and continuing off of. This is going to be day 2. I'm not really a big fan of this upper wick. Usually it's tricky to play around these. We have a relative range that I think could be played here. Got a super large fake break recovery. I think that could have been good. I'm just not a big fan of how choppy everything was around here. The 1 minute was way too volatile. I probably would not have played it unless things have settled down. The second entry is a bit better, because things are a bit slower now. We're nicely retesting the bottom and holding it, but I would just like a clearing of this range at least. And with an 80 cent ATR, a dump this big would only give us room to around here, this level. So yeah, maybe a small scalp after a breakout around here and the retest. Let's see, this one actually could have been good. We had a bit too extended 5-minute chart. I would have liked a bigger pullback before the break, but this was relatively nice, to be honest. Yeah, this could have been taken. It would not have worked, but I think it was a relatively okay trade. Not sure about the 15. Yeah, it was only candle 2 on the 15. SPY at this time, which is 11:30ish, was catching a bit as well. Yeah, I think this could have been a solid one. Very nice intraday level, broken, retested. Not much VP. I would have liked a bit better volume on the break. That was the ugliest part of this trade, I think. Or that would have been the ugliest part of that trade. Okay, so GME. Not much. Had a few updates. I think this was the Roaring Kitty stuff, where he posted after not having posted for quite a while. And now we were getting super tight around here. Not really easily visible on this screenshot that I had. A bit better around here. So this was, what day was this? the 10th of July, so yeah, somewhere around here. But yeah, we were getting tight. Not much structure to it though. Would have liked a bit cleaner trend lines or a bit cleaner pattern, and that's why I think I would not trade it again. The level was nice. I think I was going for a break and retest here. I used to take these break, and if the pullback was violent, then I'd wait for a double bottom and take them after that. Nowadays, I don't really do that. Whenever the pullback's aggressive after a break and retest, I wait for a double bottom, then I wait for it to break this high and retest that, and then I take a long off of this, set my stop loss around here, and then just take a scalp off of that. So I would not have taken this, plus we had some quite strong levels that we were going against, which I had room to play until those levels, but yeah, just not a big fan of doing that. HPE. So I see I was playing for a continuation weekly. It's not really ready for it after this red candle, but daily has a relatively nice double bottom, and we're breaking the high of it. Again, aggressive pullback, double bottom. Can maybe play a break after the break of this high for candle 1, which is what happened. Unfortunately, the levels are a bit scattered, which I'm not a big fan of. Yeah, I would not have traded this, especially with this loose and wacky pre-market. AMD, okay, so nicely trending from October till March, and now pulling back, putting in a double bottom, break of the high of the double bottom, or this middle, and can, I think, expect a week of long afterwards. This is our first resistance area around here, which is where BTC was. Daily is a bit extended. We are on candle, let's say this is candle 1, then this is candle 2, and this is candle 3, so I'd be playing for candle 4 right into this resistance. I just wouldn't take it. The level was super nice, maybe could have scalped, but it got ruined after this smearing of the level, so that's a big no-no for me. Disney, just sinking, not having a real extension. The level here was relatively okay, along with the 50 MA, but not really expecting anything without a confirmation candle. Daily is not doing anything either, it's just slowly sinking downwards. Wouldn't like to take it for a short, because there's nothing that would make me say that it's gonna go another red day, but vice versa, there's nothing here that would say to me that we're gonna have a long day, so just to skip altogether. SHW, yeah, so now we're breaking out of this range. I love the higher lows before the break. Don't really have too much Arvel on the break, so that's a bit off, but the high of it is super clean, which I'm loving. Many ghost candles on the 60 minute, not a big fan, but since the high is so clear and we've already broken out in pre-market, now we have a large fake break and recovery. I think the entry where I had it in my IVE account is actually pretty damn solid. If I wanted to be safe, I could have taken a stop around here. Anything higher that above the level is super aggressive, I think, due to how choppy gappy this stock is. So I think going for a safer entry here is pretty solid. $1.2 ATR, 80% of that is 80 cents. We have a large break, but we don't really have much Arvel, and that is a bit concerning to me on a break of this magnitude, so I'm I think only going for 80% of the Arvel is relatively solid, which on these gappy choppy stocks I don't really count the absolute lowest point. I count about the price where the move started, so that would be around 79.75 or 79.80. $1.1 off of that is 75.80. 76 is so close, break is large, so maybe worth it just going for that $76 level for the psychological target, as well as a somewhat ATR based target. Mara breaking out of this very large consolidation zone. Week 1, we're playing for week 2, but there's a large upper wick, so we're playing inside of that. A bit more risky, tricky, but can be managed. a bit too many scattered support resistance levels ahead, which aren't my favorite. 60-minute, I can't really grab onto anything on here. It's mostly like a range-ish structure with some weird levels. Yeah, maybe could have played some break and retest of some of these levels. I think this would have been nice because there's a window above. Playing the break of retest of this would be risky because there's a resistance level quiet shortly ahead. Moderna. Oh yeah, so basically the conclusion on this is that I would not have taken it because it was just way too tricky to play. As we came down here, had two consecutive candle extensions. Not much on the 5-minute, not super extended. We did set up a nice bottom around here. Maybe the break and retest after that could have been good, but not really around here by that time. And yeah, I don't think the targeting would have gotten any further than these levels. So taking a break and retest of this with a stop below this wick would not have given me a good risk to reward. Okay, so back to Moderna. So kind of a range structure, but no super clean or extended moves. I see what I was trying to play. I was trying to play for the break and retest of this, but there's just too many scatter levels above me. Not very structured, so wouldn't take it. MU. Okay, so we have somewhat of an extension. I would have liked a bit more acceleration into the end of this, but nice inside candle. That's in the top half of this final extension and confirmation candle to the long side. I guess I was trying to play at the top of this, but there was no pattern or anything. This is just a second rate daily pattern. Not really my favorite. I would probably just skip. I was trying to play for a break and retest, but this daily chart is just way too ugly with the trying to bounce trying to bounce can't, and now we're coming back even under this previous support and this level, and now we're trying to come out of it. Yeah, it's just way too messy and weak. Not showing any strength where there should have been. So let's just do a few more, maybe Oxy and then another one. I think I was playing for a bounce from the low of this maybe, but we already hit a confirmation candle, which was basically an inside candle of the previous two candles. Not technically correct, but it just didn't really go anywhere else. I don't really like these. For bounce plays, I would like a much larger separation on these candles, and then maybe a confirmation at the bottom as a hammer, and then I would like to play for the next candle. QCOM, basically the same thing. So like, yeah, we had 3 consecutive candles. Now we're in the top half, so that's nice. Levels relatively okay, but we do have this mini pivot high here, and the 50 coming in as well. It's just way too messy. Pre-market's already broken out, rejected. I just don't like to play these. Lulu, basically the same thing. Already should have made the move, or could have played on these days, but no confirmation candle, not the biggest extension. It's just there's just no edge in these from my point of view. Okay, let's just check PDD and then I'm calling it. So we've put in some, so let's just try to analyze it. This is a pivot high. Now we've broken out of this range as I've marked it, but we failed back, put in a lower high here, yet another lower high, and now we're breaking below this isolated pivot, or not isolated but pivot. Now we're coming into the 50 MA, not really my favorite. This is only day 1 after the break, or day 2, sorry. We have a doji, some would call it a shooting star, I'd call it a doji. To be more realistic, I really like that we have this range mostly around here. For the break, we only have 1 level below us, and we have a very large fake break even. Oh no, it wasn't. I thought that it was going to be the 8 AM clearing candle, but it wasn't. It was this around here. So an entry here, an appropriate entry would be a a break below this range, a retest, and then a continuation from there. Anything before that, the range would have to be much more exact in pre-market. This has way too many ghost candles, which I'm not a fan of. So maybe a break and retest here. We set up a double top, as I said, or sorry, yeah, I can draw. Move, a bit of an aggressive pullback. Now we set up a double top. We've broken down from that, and now we're retesting. So maybe could have taken an entry around here, stop around here, targeted this level, which I'm not sure what it was. It's somewhere around 125.70-ish. So somewhere around here, I could have moved my stop to break even. A bit too early, but I think given the magnitude of the breakdown and the opportunity to get back to this Kickstarter support, which is where this move happened, and these supports are very critical, is just way too good to miss out on this opportunity because of a single wick. So yeah, this is not actually where I should have taken it, but somewhere around here maybe. Either here or after this little confirmation, but this entry would have given me much more confirmation. 5 minute wasn't extended. 15 minute, I would have liked a bit bigger pullbacks. This was very... So I'm very on the fence about this 15. Not the biggest fan. SPY was mostly just sinking all day, but usually doesn't have that much influence on the Chinese stocks. So yeah.